UFC Fight Night in Uruguay happening this Saturday. A lot of people seem to be bashing on this card, but actually when you look at it, better than last week's in my opinion, and actually some good matchups with some good prospects that people don't really know about. So Rogerio Batorian versus Raulian Paiva is an excellent fight. Marina Rodriguez is a good prospect up against Tisha Torres, who is a veteran in the game. Cyril Gane versus Rafael Pessoa is probably one of the best fights on the entire card. You could probably say second best fight on the entire card behind Vicente Luque and Mike Perry. Gilbert Burns versus Aleksandar Kochenko is an amazing fight as well. Rodolfo Vieira is an extremely high-level BJJ practitioner. Luis Garagori is an excellent prospect as well. I mean, there's a lot of good fighters on this card, and this card is really meant for the prospects. Right? If you don't know the names of some of these fighters, you're going to know them in the next couple years. I really want to get into the Cyril Gane versus Rafael Pessoa fight, but I'm going to start with the Gilbert Burns versus Aleksandar Kochenko fight. Now, both fighters are packing a lot of power. Burns is a much better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist, whereas Kochenko is a high-level seasoned kickboxer. And the way that Burns has been going about his career, he's been striking a lot, trying to land that big right hand of his, but he's not going to find the chin of Kochenko, I believe. Kochenko's striking defense is so high level. He's so good at parrying shots. He's so good at leaning away. He's always technically aware on every single punch the opponent's going to throw, and when your only big punch is going to be that right overhand, good luck landing on Kochenko, man. He's going to counter you. He's really good at taking the time to download the data and then later in the fight start exploiting that, right? Takedown defense is excellent. He fought Yushin Okami, who's a better takedown artist than Gilbert Burns, also much bigger. And another thing to note is Gilbert Burns is a 155-pound fighter who's coming up to 170 for this fight on short notice against a big fighter, Kochenko, who isn't tall, but he is solid, man. Like a brick house. And that's automatically going to go to my prediction for this fight. I'm going to go with Aleksandar Kochenko. I'm going to go by a second round knockout. We haven't seen Kochenko knock out anybody in the UFC yet, but most of the finishes are knockouts. And the fact that Gilbert Burns puts himself in so much danger, combining with his failed takedown attempts, I believe Kochenko is going to be able to find that chin pretty early on. And then we go to Volkan Oezdemir versus Ilir Latifi. Hopefully, we'll see by fight night if this happens. This is the third time this fight was scheduled. It's a great fight. Volkan Oezdemir burst onto the scene with 3 great wins and fought for the title within a year, which is pretty crazy. And Ilir Latifi has been trying to get that big win of his, but he's in that Cub Swanson, older Michael Bisping situation where whenever he gets a big fight, he always loses that one. He destroys anybody who's under his level, but when he fights someone on his level or above it, he really doesn't perform. And here's another chance for him. So mentally, I would say Volkan's probably coming into this fight at a better state, but he is coming off 3 losses, which is something new to his career. Coming off losses to Daniel Cormier, Anthony Smith, and Dominic Reyes, which aren't the worst losses. He lost to some of the best fighters in the division. He probably comes to this fight like he needs to prove something. But I would say Volkan's a better technical striker. He's a little bit more comfortable in that area. Latifi seems to have all the athleticism, all the gifts, all the talent, all the striking capabilities, and takedown capabilities, but something happens to him when he fights. He's a little bit antsy, a little bit uncomfortable, looks like he's a little bit too nervous, where he should be relaxed a little bit. He's much faster than most of these guys. He's much more powerful than most of these guys. He has great movement, but he's always in there like he's on the verge of getting knocked out at any given moment. And he's fighting for his life out there when the fight just started. So that's another reason why I'm going to say Volkan has a mental edge coming into this fight. His takedown defense isn't that great. His chin is excellent. I would think he would take a couple good shots from Latifi. Maybe not too much because Latifi is a different kind of power than anybody Volkan's ever fought before. And Volkan, even though he has a reach advantage, he usually comes in there with a little bit too much aggression, gets into the clinch, lands some dirty boxing shots, but on his way out, there's where some of his openings start to show. And I believe if Latifi's quick enough to dart in there and catch him with some big right overhand or something like that, maybe throw some leg kicks out there because of Volkan's stance. He likes to move laterally a lot, and if you can intercept that movement, you can really limit his advancements, his aggression early on. But that goes to my prediction. I think it's a hard fight to call. I don't think it's going to be close, but I believe each of these fighters can dominantly beat the other. It depends what state of mind Latifi comes in there with, right? He has all the tools to thwart and dominate Volkan, but if he tends to stand there a little bit too much or fail to take down attempts because he's not mixing up behind his boxing, I would think Volkan would win this fight. But my official prediction is I'm going to go with Volkan. I like Latifi a lot, but I think he might crack a little bit under Volkan Oezdemir. Volkan does have some deceptive power, so he can land some good shots in there and really start to get Latifi antsy out there. So I'm going to go Volkan Oezdemir. I'm actually going to go by a decision. And then we go to the co-main event. In my opinion, the best fight on the entire card. Vicente Luque versus Mike Perry. And those names spark fireworks right off the bat. Knockout artists. They like to stand and bake for the most part. Vicente Luque has a better ground game. Light years ahead when it comes to BJJ. The takedown defense of Mike Perry could work because Vicente Luque isn't the best takedown artist, but if it eventually gets to the ground, I have Luque submitting him easily. On the feet, I would say Perry has more brute power. I think he is naturally just stronger than Luque is, but Luque is infinitely times better of a striker in every which way. From leg kicks to left hooks, from knees, maybe not elbows. Mike Perry is actually low-key really good at elbows in the clinch. I would say Vicente Luque is heads and shoulders above Mike Perry. But just like in the Brian Barberena fight, I thought a very similar thing, and Vicente Luque started to get caught in that one. He started to mix up a little bit too much to the point where he's getting caught where he shouldn't be. And if Mike Perry's going to catch Vicente Luque like that, I don't think Luque is going to take those shots. Different kind of power between Mike Perry and Brian Barberena. And Mike Perry isn't the most technical guy. You know, he wings out punches for the most part. He's trying to be a little bit more technical, throw a little bit more leg kicks, maybe not wing out that right overhand without any setups, but he still does that time to time. He's a lot more dangerous when he's countering you because when he's moving forward, he really telegraphs his right hand, which is usually his moneymaker, what he always goes for to end a fight. So when he's getting pushed back and he's looking for that big counter shot and the opponent at all gets a little bit too desperate for a finish or something like that, Mike Perry's there to knock you out. In the clinch, I would actually think Mike Perry with the elbows can give some problems to Luque. So at mid-range, even short range, long range, on the ground, scrambling with takedowns, I think Luque is superior to Mike Perry. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go Vicente Luque. I actually see him catching Mike Perry and putting him down. Maybe third round, I think Mike Perry's chin is going to hold up for the most part of the fight. I actually do see him hurting Luque one time in the fight, but I think it wakes up Luque and gets him a little bit sharper with his striking. I see a right hand fadeaway left hook while blocking the counter shot of Mike Perry, catching Perry and putting him down. Yes, he's a great chin, but man, his defense is lacking. The guard is usually not there. Head movement's not all there. Movement with the feet is not all there. He's just a very intimidating physical fighter that gets opponents on edge throughout the entire fight where they're just moving around a lot and point fighting with him. And then we go to the main event. Valentina Shevchenko versus Liz Carmouche. I'm not going to beat around the bush with this one, man. Valentina Shevchenko is dominant and better in almost every area besides, I would say, wrestling and ground and pound. But her takedown defense is excellent. Her judo background will be able to counter the wrestling of Liz Carmouche. On the feet, it's not even close. From footwork to power to lethal precision to downloading data to fight IQ to cage awareness. I mean, everything that includes striking, Valentina is way ahead of Liz Carmouche. I mean, this is a mismatch if this was a kickboxing match. But Liz Carmouche's only real chance, I would say, in this one is trying to mix up the striking with the takedowns all the time and put on a ridiculous pace, like keep going forward, throw many shots. It's a 5-round fight. I don't know what Carmouche's cardio is going to be for those 5 rounds, but that's the best way you got to go. You got to eventually get Shevchenko on her back and land devastating ground and pound. Maybe not finish her right away, but cut her up and make the damage look significant. But my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go Valentina Shevchenko. I think Carmouche is a little bit too stationary on the feet. I think her takedowns are a little bit too telegraphed. I think the judo background of Valentina Shevchenko as well as the clinch work is a little bit too much for Carmouche to even get any advantages with her takedowns. And possibly even with just submissions, if Shevchenko gets to the ground, I think she is probably a little bit ahead of Liz Carmouche. So I'm going to go with Valentina Shevchenko. I'm going to go by a 4th round submission. I think Shevchenko is eventually going to get Carmouche to the ground and submit her. So let's look at the rest of the card here. Some really good fights, like I said before. Again, the one I'm really looking forward to, that Cyril Gane versus Rafael Pessoa fight. If you guys don't know about Cyril Gane, he has movement and speed and precision unlike any heavyweight you'll ever see. Big guy, long reach, great kickboxer. Takedown defense is going to be tested, I think, at this fight a little bit. I think Pessoa, even though he is more of a striker, he has devastating knockout power. I believe he might be better on the ground than Gane, which makes this fight extremely competitive. But I believe both of these guys are going to be great prospects in the future of the heavyweight division, possibly being top contenders one day. And then regarding the betting odds, I actually agree with almost all of this. I mean, I would just say that Kochenko may be a little bit more of a favorite than they put him as. And the dogs on the entire card, I would probably say Pessoa being almost a 3.5 to 1 underdog is pretty crazy in my opinion, where Gane, even though I'm so high on this guy, and he's an amazing prospect, he only has 3 fights professionally in MMA. And Carmouche being a giant underdog, I mean, not too bad to put anything on her, right? You never know, still MMA. So I hope you guys enjoyed the predictions, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe. My next video, UFC 241, is coming up next week, and I cannot wait to make a prediction for that. It's actually going to come out earlier than usual, so be on the lookout for that. In my opinion, the best card of the year so far. It's going to come out early next week, so be on the lookout for that. Street Fight Breakdown video is almost done as well. This should probably be coming out maybe later tonight. If not, it should come out by tomorrow. Then my podcast is also going to come out probably by early next week as well. So be on the lookout for all those. There's a lot of things I'm working on. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.